Milli Vanilli's Fab Morvan was so devastated by the group's lip-syncing scandal that for years he refused to show his face in public. For his partner Rob Pilatus, the aftermath proved even harsher. Before anyone had ever heard of Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan, they were just a pair of anonymous European youths trying to make their way in the world. Pilatus spent the first 4 years of his life in a Munich orphanage. Meanwhile, Morvan was born in Paris to parents of Guadeloupe descent. The two became fast friends when they met at a dance class. Pilatus told the LA Times, "Something clicked between us. Maybe it's because we're both black people who grew up in foreign cities that don't have too many blacks." The pair tried to find work as backup singers and even recorded an album, although it failed to go anywhere. At one point, the men were so broke they had to steal to eat. Pilatus told the Washington Post, "We lived together in a project in Munich. We had little to eat. We were starving." While Pilatus and Morvan were trying to find a way out of their poverty-stricken lives in Munich, German record producer Frank Farian was looking for his next project. Farian was particularly skilled at taking existing vocals and slapping a more marketable face on them. One night in Munich, he heard the forgotten track "Girl You Know It's True" by the Baltimore hip-hop group Newmarks. He decided he could improve it with the right mix of background vocals, updated beats, and most importantly, faces to go with the music. Farian secured a handful of vocalists and musicians, brought them into the studio, and kept studio heads at a distance so they wouldn't ask questions. He also made sure to hide the identity of the singer by ensuring he recorded at night. According to biography, the album's engineer, Tobias Frun, said this about the recordings: "It was a secret. We worked in the evening and closed the windows." Before long, Farian had a hit on his hands, so he just needed faces. Somehow, Pilatus and Morvan crossed his path. The men were offered a contract of a few $1,000s to dance, lip-sync, and most importantly, keep up the charade.
We thought, okay, it's one song. You do that and you're out.
Every villain in every episode of Scooby-Doo said the following after the big reveal:
"And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids."
But in Milli Vanilli's case, it wasn't cartoon teenagers that brought down their act. It was that they became too big, with just about every single they released becoming a #1 hit, and with talk of awards from the music industry, Milli Vanilli's secret became harder to keep by the day. The first crack in the foundation came on July 21, 1989, when the band was performing live in Connecticut. The audio track failed, causing the lyrics to skip over and over again. During that audio mishap, Pilatus just stood there looking dumbfounded. He eventually just ran off the stage. There were other clues, too. Somehow fans failed to notice that Pilatus and Morvan's speaking voices sounded nothing like their singing voices. Only when the group won their Grammy did the House of Cards finally tumble down. With Grammys in their hands and whispers in the media that they were cheating, Pilatus and Morvan had enough. The pair went to Farian with an ultimatum. According to biography, Pilatus recalled, "We said to Frank Farian, 'You don't let us sing on the album. Don't do this anymore. We don't want to live like this.' Farian wasn't having it and forced Milli Vanilli to go public. The backlash was intense and immediate. As a result, Pilatus and Morvan were effectively canceled. Milli Vanilli was forced to return their Grammy, while Farian no longer wanted anything to do with them.
And we're happy that it's over."
Morvan said in the 2013 episode of Oprah, Where Are They Now?, that being exposed in such a public way was harsh.
You don't know where to turn to because there's no body around you. You're left alone.
In the 30 years since the Milli Vanilli scandal, the music industry has changed its tune on lip-syncing, but that gradual acceptance came far too late for Milli Vanilli. Rob Pilatus spent the following decade struggling with failure. He also experienced substance abuse issues and brushes with the law. In 1998, Pilatus died of a drug overdose at the age of 32. While speaking about his former bandmate on Oprah, Morvan said, "Rob Pilatus didn't deal well with humiliation. Being punched every day in the public eye leaves marks." Morvan has done slightly better. He spent the ensuing decades in the music industry doing lower-profile projects as well as public speaking engagements.
When everything broke down, the only thing I could hang on to was music. That was the only thing.
Of course, he still had his difficulties. He said on Oprah, "The years after the scandal broke, it was a difficult time because I was trying to rehabilitate myself to civilian life."
I stayed in for years. I only went out to eat.
Frank Farian's involvement in the Milli Vanilli controversy effectively came and went with no real damage to his career. He continued to produce popular bands well into the late 1990s. Meanwhile, the crime that cost Milli Vanilli their careers, lip-syncing, is an accepted part of the music industry these days. It happens at major award shows, the Super Bowl, sometimes even in concerts. For those in the music industry, lip-syncing is kind of an open secret. And while not all fans and critics are on board with it, lip-syncing is no longer the career destroyer that it once was.